The skeletal system. So yun na, pag-iistoryahan natin ang 206 bones in the skeletal system ngan kung ano gamit it bones sa aton body. So, the skeletal system. The skeletal system includes all of the bones and joints in our body. Each bones is a complex living organ that is made up of many cells, protein fibers, and minerals. The skeleton acts as a scaffold by providing support and protection for the soft tissues that make up the rest of the body. The skeletal system also provides attachment points for muscles to allow movements at the joints. New blood cells are produced by the red bone marrow inside our body or inside our bones. Bones act as the body's warehouse. The skeletal system anatomy. The skeletal system in an adult body is made up of 206 individual bones. So, an adult body is may 206 bones and an adult. So, an baby is guti ay mas damuan ira bones an baby pa hira. So, kaya nagiging 206 na la kay because an aton bones is nagdudugtong na. So, that's why nagiging 206. And then, these bones are arranged into two major divisions, the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton runs along the body's midline axis and is made up of 80 bones in the following regions: the skull, hyoid, auditory ossicles, ribs, sternum, and vertebral column. The appendicular skeleton is made up of 126 bones in the following regions: upper limbs, lower limbs, pelvic girdle, and the pectoral girdle or the shoulder. Next is the skull. The skull is composed of 22 bones that are fused together except for the mandible. These 21 fused bones are separate in children to allow the skull and brain to grow, but fused to give added strength and protection as an adult. The mandible remains the movable jawbone here, the mandible, and forms only movable joint skull with the temporal bone. The bones of the superior portion of the skull are known as the cranium and protect the brain from damage. The bones of the inferior and anterior portion of the skull are known as facial bones that support the eyes, nose, and mouth. So, ang bones sa aton skull are frontal, parietal, occipital, temporal, tapos sa aton mata may dia optic canal, nganin may dia superior orbital fissure, and then nga diha aton nasal cavity is may the middle nasal concha or of ethmoid bone, and then the vomer and the inferior nasal concha. And then here is the mandible. Mandible is here. And then the maxilla, the zygomatic bone, and then the ethmoid bone is nasa loob, and then the sphenoid bone is nasa loob din, nasa loob ng ating skull. So, yan ang mga bones na nandito sa ating skull and sa ating facial bones. Ay, meron pa pala. The lacrimal bone is here, nandoon sa loob. Lacrimal bone ay nasa dito sa ating mata. Next is the pectoral girdle and the upper limb. The pectoral girdle connects the upper limb arm bones to the axial skeleton and consists of the left and right clavicles, the left and right scapula. So, amay ni an aton left and right clavicles. The humerus is the bone of the upper arm. It forms the ball and socket joint of the shoulder with the scapula and forms the elbow joint, adididi scapula. The lower arm bones. The radius and the ulna are the two bones of the forearm. So, an aton ulna and radius, igbaw is radius, and the ulna and ubos. So, the ulna is on the medial side of the forearm and forms a hinge joint in the humerus at the elbow. The radius allows a forearm and hand to turn over to the wrist joint. So, amo ito niya ha. An igbaw is radius, an ubos is ulna. And then the lower arm bones from the wrist join with the carpals, a group of 8 small bones that give added flexibility to the wrists. The carpals are connected to the 5 metacarpals that form the bones of the hand and connect to each fingers. Each finger has 3 bones known as the phalanges, except for the thumb, which has only 2 phalanges. So this hand is the distal phalanges, the middle phalanges, and the proximal phalanges. So yung dito sa wrist, ipapakita ko sa inyo yung picture kasi di nyo makakita kung ano yung nasa loob nito. So, ulitin ko. First is, here is the clavicle connected to the scapula. Scapula is here. And then, ito is humerus. Humerus yung ito dito sa upper. And then, dito is, pag gumanyan ka, the upper one is the radius and the lower one is the ulna. And then, dito, ipapakita ko sa inyo yung picture kasi baka hindi nyo ma-imagine kung ano nasa loob nito. And then, ito is metatarsals. Metacarpals kasi yung metatarsals ay nasa paa. So, ito yung metacarpals, yung dito. Metacarpals yan. And then, ito, yung first is the proximal phalanges, the middle phalanges, and the distal phalanges. So, that is the pectoral girdle and the upper limb. Next is the pelvic girdle and the lower limb. Formed by the left and right hip bones, the pelvic girdle connects the lower limb or leg bones to the axial skeleton. The femur is an aton paa. The femur is the largest bone in the body and the only bone of the thigh femoral region. The femur forms the ball socket hip joint with the hip bone and forms the knee joint with the tibia and the patella, commonly called the kneecap. The patella is special because it is the few bones that are not present at birth. The patella forms in early childhood to support the knee for walking and crawling. So, an aton patella is an aton tuhod. So, an aton paa, amo hiya an aton femur, which is amo ang pinaka-large nga bone na aton body. And then, an ubos an aton paa, or ubos an aton tuhod, or an aton tiil, amo hiya ang dako nga bone ngadto amo ang tibia. Tas ang pinakaguti is amo ang fibula. Sesamoid. The sesamoid bones are formed after birth inside the tendons that run across joints. Sesamoid bones grow to protect the tendon from stresses and strains of the joint and can help to give a mechanical advantage to muscles pulling on the tendon. The patella of the pisiform bone of the carpals are the only sesamoid bones that are counted as part of the 206 bones of the body. Other sesamoid bones can form in joints of hands and feet, but are not present in all people. Next is the hyoid and auditory ossicles. The hyoid is a small U-shaped bone found just inferior in the mandible. Nandito yung hyoid. The hyoid is the only bone in the body that does not form a joint with any other bone. It is a floating bone. The hyoid's function is to help hold the trachea open and to form the bone connection for the tongue's muscles. The malleus, incus, and stapes is the known collective as the auditory ossicles. So, ang malleus, incus, and stape is partiyahan aton ears. So, bone gyap hiya aton ears. And then, those are the smallest auditory ossicles, smallest bones in the body. found in a small cavity inside the temporal bone that they serve to transmit and amplify sound from the eardrum to the inner ear. So dito, nandun sa loob ang malleus incus state. Ipapakita ko sa inyo dito yung picture. So, and then the sacrum is the smallest bone in our body. Next is the vertebra. Vertebra or vertebrae is 26 vertebrae form as vertebral column of the human body. They are named by regions: cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and coccyx. So, ang cervical adiya neck, the 7 vertebrae. Ang first nga bone nga adi didi nga ang vertebrae amo to niya ang cervical, the 7 vertebrae. The thoracic is aadiha chest na tikad to 12 liwatiya na vertebrae. And then the lumbar is the lower back, 5 vertebrae liwatiya, adiya didiha last. Tas it's sacrum, 1 lahiya. And then the coccyx and tailbone, amo yan pinakalas han vertebra, usa lahiya. So amo to niya ang 26 vertebra form the vertebral column. So ipapakita ko yung picture anak niya kan kanina. With the exception of the singular sacrum and coccyx, each vertebra is named for the first letter of its region and its position along the superior-inferior axis. For example, the most superior thoracic vertebra is called T1 and the most inferior is called T12. So, ang tawaghan, may tawag kada usa nga vertebra. So, ang usa is C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, and C7. Amo to niyan cervical, aadahan neck. Second is thoracic, T1, T2, T3, hanggang sa 12 vertebra. And then the lumbar is L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5. So, amo ito ni tawag ka vertebrae naton na adiha aton back or aton backbone. And the next is the ribs and the sternum. The sternum is here and the ribs are here. So the sternum or breastbone is a thin, knife-shaped bone located along the midline of the anterior side of the thoracic region of the skeleton. The sternum connects to the ribs by thin bands of cartilage called the costal cartilage. There are 12 pairs of ribs that together with the sternum form the rib cage of the thoracic region. The first 7 regions are known as the true ribs. Why true ribs? Because hiya lait nakakonect ka sternum. Ay siya na 7 ribs, amo hiya nakakonect ka sternum. So that's why true ribs siya. And then, because they connect the thoracic vertebrae directly to the sternum through their own band and costal cartilage. So, amo na niya nakan kay connected hiya ha sternum. Next is ribs 8 and 9. All connect to the sternum through cartilage that is connected to the cartilage on the 7th rib. So we consider this to be false ribs. So false ribs and 8, 9, 10 kay diri hiya connected ha sternum. So adila hiya didi. May adila hiya didi diri hiya connected nga di sternum. And then next is ribs 11 and 12 are also false rib but are considered as floating ribs. Why floating ribs? Asya yung tawag na floating ribs kay diri hiya nakakonect nga di may ribs nga tubtub 10. So floating hiya kay waray niya ginkukuan adala hiya vertebra nakakonect asya floating kay waray niya ginkukunik kan liwat ang tip niya. But also considered to be floating ribs because they do not have any cartilage attachment to the sternum at all. So, amo ito niya. An aton abdomen, tikadi nga diya ubos is amon pinaka-fragile ha aton body. Kay amoy an waray ribs nga nagproprotect. So, the tibia is much larger than the fibula and bears almost of the body's weight. The fibula is mainly a muscle attachment point and is used to help maintain balance. The tibia and fibula form the ankle joint with the talus, one of the 7 tarsal bones in the foot. So, ang talus, so ipapakita ko yun didi, and picture han aton tiil and bones nga ada aton amo iton. One is the haaton ankle joint, may da nga da mga bones na good thick nganin ang siya niton ang tibia and fibula nakakonect kiha talus nga one of the bones in the 7 tarsal bones in the foot. The tarsals are the group of 7 small bones that form the posterior end of the foot and heel. The tarsals form joints with the 5 long metatarsals on the foot. Then each of the metatarsals forms a joint with one of the set of phalanges in the toes. Each toe has 3 phalanges, except for the big toe, which is only has 2 phalanges. So, ang tarsals ng metatarsals pareha lahira. So, each toe has 3 phalanges. So, ang aton tiil may diya tutol na phalanges. So, an guti ayla is amwan hiyaan an big toe. So, the skeletal system physiology. The skeletal system provides to support and protect our body. Function and skeletal system is first, support and protection. So, ang skeletal system nagpro-protect na nagsusupport ang aton body. Second is movement. So, ang skeletal system is amuya ang nag-aalawan movement sa aton body na connected hiya aton muscle which is amo anang move ang aton body. Next is hematopoiesis. So, hematopoiesis is the red bone marrow produces red and white blood cells in a process known as hematopoiesis. Red bone marrow is found in the hollow space inside of bones known as the medullary cavity. Children tend to have more red bone marrow compared to their body size than adults do due to their body's constant growth and development. So, next is storage. Storage is, kaya ano yung storage and skeletal system? So, ang aton bone is may diya storage and nutrients and na nakakadiha aton body. Next is growth and development. So, ang bone, amoy ang basis ang aton growth and development. So, ang growth is amoy nagkukuan ang aton kahit taas kung paano kita mag body movement. So, amoy ito na-develop ang aton body. Next is diseases and conditions. A number of musculoskeletal health issues from arthritis to cancer can impair our mobility and lead to loss of quality of life or even death. At other times, symptoms of joint pain can lead to diagnosis of underlying health problems. Pay attention to joint pain and any changes you perceive in your ability to move. Sharing those with your healthcare provider. Also, you can learn more about DNA health tests, which can tell you if you're in genetically higher risk of hemochromatosis, one of the most common hereditary disorders, causing joint pain as well as the Gaucher disease. Testing can also tell you if you're an asymptomatic carrier of the genetic variant that you could pass along to your children. So, aton bone may dagat diseases. So, ito ng osteoporosis, like that. So, kailangan natin in medical health provider para masabtan natin kung may diba, iba kasi adaha genes. So, kailangan natin magpakita healthcare provider or doctor or hospital para maaram kita kung ano't aton diseases. Kung may doon natin maulol aton lawas. Next is the microscopic structure of bones. The skeleton makes up about 30 to 40% of an adult's body mass. The skeleton's mass is made up of non-living bone matrix of many tiny bone cells. Roughly half of the bone matrix mass is water, while the other half is collagen protein and solid crystals of calcium carbohydrate and calcium phosphate. Living bone cells are found on the edges of the bones in small cavities inside of the body matrix. although these cells make up very little of the total bone mass. They have several important roles in the functions of the skeletal system. The bone cells allow bones to grow and develop, be, be repaired following an injury or daily wear, be broken down to release their stored minerals. So, yan yung microscopic structure of bone. Types of bones. All bones of the body can be broken down into 5 types: long, short, flat, irregular, and sesamoid bones. Long. Long bones are longer than they are wide and are major bones of the limbs. Long bones grow more than the other classes of bone throughout childhood and so are responsible for the bulk of height as adults. A hollow medullary cavity is found in the center of long bones and serves as a storage area for bone marrow. Examples of long bones include the femur, tibia, fibula, metatarsals, and phalanges. The short bones. Short bones are about as long as they are wide and are often cubed or round in shape. The carpal bones of the wrist and the tarsal bone on the foot are examples of short bones. So, ang carpals nganin tarsals, habatan wrist ngan ha ankle or a foot, ang mohiya ang short. Kaya short bones ang cubia or a round shape hiya. Next is the flat bones. From the word itself, flat. Flat bones vary greatly in size and shape, but have the common feature of being very thin in one direction. Because they are thin, flat bones do not have a medullary cavity like long bones. The frontal, the parietal, the occipital bones of the cranium, along with the ribs and the hip bones, are examples of flat bones. Next is the irregular bones. The irregular bones have a shape that does not fit the pattern of the long, short, or flat bones. The vertebrae, sacrum, and coccyx of the spine, as well as the sphenoid bone or the ethmoid bone, and zygomatic bones of the skull are all irregular bones. So, an irregular bones, waray hiya shape. Siya gintatawag nga irregular bone. Waray niya pattern nga long, short, nganhin, flat bones. Next is sesamoid. The sesamoid bones are formed after birth inside of tendons that run across joints. Sesamoid bones grow to protect the tendon from stresses and strains at the joint and can be helped to give a mechanical advantage to phalanges. Articulations. An articulation or joint is a point of contact between bone and cartilage, or between a bone and a tooth. Synovial joints are the most common type of articulation and feature a small gap between the bones. This gap allows a free range of motion in space for synovial fluid to lubricate the joint. Fibrous joints exist where bones are very tightly joined and offer little to no movement between the bones. Fibrous joints also hold teeth in very bony sockets. Finally, cartilaginous joints are formed where bone meets cartilage or where there is a layer of cartilage between two joints. These joints provide a small amount of flexibility in the joint due to the gel-like consistency of cartilage. So, hope you enjoy our discussion about the skeletal system.